This is Alternative Political Analysis, and this video will be on attitudes in the 6 counties towards the Islamic faith, and I will play another clip from the BBC's The Nolan Show, presented by Stephen Nolan on BBC Radio Ulster, and this will provide further context to the video on Janice from Belfast. It will provide further perspective on why I report on such subjects as immigration, opinion polling on the Islamic faith, Wahhabi ideology and the violent exponents of it, and the Couldn't Hold Calergy agenda and immigration, as I've said, and race issues and religious issues, as well as ethno-religious issues. And without further delay, I will play the clip from The Nolan Show.
Massive reaction to yesterday's show when a caller said she would rather die than be treated by a Muslim doctor. Tell me this, Janice. Would you, if you were in hospital, would you object to being treated by a Muslim doctor?
I wouldn't like to be treated by anyone else. What would you do if there was nobody else there to do it for you? I would go home and die.
What does it say about the attitudes of people in Northern Ireland to ethnic minorities and Muslims in particular? We've been looking at research. We'll bring it to you in just a moment. The police are going to crack down on people parking on the footpaths. We'll be talking to them this morning about their plans, and one local council is considering snoopers to catch the poopers, mobile CCTV cameras to stamp out dog fouling. How are you thinking ahead of the election? What issues have affected your thinking? We're looking at that this morning on the biggest radio show in the country.
On Twitter at Stephen Nolan and on Facebook at The Nolan Show.
Good morning, how are you doing today? Yesterday, The Nolan Show had a caller which outraged many of you. It's one of the most talked about things there was yesterday. It was trending. Many people talking about caller Janice, who came on to the radio and created, I guess, a big talking point yesterday. Let's just remind ourselves about some of what she had to say.
I want to know why so many Muslims want to come to non-Muslim countries as refugees when there's so many Muslim countries they could go to. They are going to Muslim countries. They're already going to Muslim countries. But what has that got to do with being a human being, helping another human being? Come on. Let the rich, excuse me for I speak, let the rich Muslim countries look after them. Why should we, as non-Muslim, majority non-Muslim countries, have to look after these people? They obviously don't want to integrate. They want to turn us all into Muslims.
Well, Janice, that is an outrageous statement to make, isn't it?
It's a
Hold on. An absolutely outrageous statement. And can I remind you live in Belfast, correct?
And if I wanted to...
you live in Belfast, correct, Janice?
A Muslim country, I would go
Janice,
to the same country.
Janice, you live in Belfast, correct?
Yes.
Right. Well, there are Muslims, believe it or not, Janice. There are many decent Muslims living, working, breathing, contributing to the economy in Belfast as much a Northern Irish citizen as you are.
They're not integrating, Stephen.
Don't be ridiculous. Have you got it?
They want their mosque, they want to take over.
So, that was just some of yesterday's show. 03030 80 55 55. What's interesting is, after that programme, there were quite a few of you actually saying that Janice shouldn't have been allowed on air. You're entitled to your opinion. We took the view, actually, that we've got to air some of those more extreme views so that they can be challenged, and also so that we can understand how some people think. Here's what was really interesting. After the programme yesterday, we went and we had a look at the most recent social attitude survey. This is the 2015 survey. And these are questions specifically researched. These numbers are specifically relating to Northern Ireland. Have a listen to these numbers. I was surprised. Would you accept Muslims as a resident in your local area? 45% said no. Would you accept a Muslim as a colleague? 50% said no. Would you accept a Muslim as a close friend? 60% said no. Now remember, this is a robust survey. This is the Northern Ireland Social Attitudes Survey. 60% saying they wouldn't accept a Muslim as a close friend. Would you accept a Muslim as a relative by marriage? 68% said no. And what's really interesting about this Social Attitude Survey is that if you then look at other minority ethnic groups, those similar questions, well, let's just compare, for example, would you accept Muslims as a resident in your local area? 45% said no. Would you accept any other minority ethnic groups as a resident in your local area? 88% said yes. So once it comes away from Muslims, the trend changes. Isn't that interesting? So was that caller Janice yesterday, although there's no doubt her view was extreme, to shout in her own? And you might remember how I finished the programme yesterday saying how many Janices are out there. Mohammed Shafiq is with us this morning from the Ramadan Foundation. Morning to you, Mohammed.
Good morning, Stephen.
Morning to you. Katie Hopkins with us today. Katie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Broadcaster, morning, Katie. Mohammed, are you surprised by this in Northern Ireland?
I'm not surprised. I think we live in a climate where there is rising anti-Muslim hatred, where it's become commonplace to demonise Muslims as if we're aliens, we're cockroaches, and other analogies.
Where is this coming from?
Well, I think there's inherent anti-Muslim hatred, which is about, it's coming from politicians, it's coming sadly from commentators like Katie Hopkins, and the violent abuse that she does on Facebook and Twitter and through the Daily Mail column, where it's become normalised. To see Muslims as aliens and as not vibrant members of the community. And I think that's the problem. Yes, you can have a problem with the Muslim faith, you can challenge it, you can ridicule it, you can, question it, but what isn't acceptable is to tarnish a whole faith system based on the actions of a very small minority.
Katie?
First, I'm not on Facebook, so some of the allegations being made are on
Twitter and the email.
Any basis in reality. But I think, if we go back to the sort of fundamental point, I discussed this on my radio show at the weekend, and I asked my Muslim callers, why is it that individuals fleeing Muslim land seem to always want to come to Christian countries? If Islam's so great, why don't people remain in countries where the Islamic faith is practiced? And my Muslim callers, who are supporters of Trump, surprisingly actually many, have said that because the Islamic faith at the moment is a very divisive faith, there's a lot of conflict between Sunni and Shias and others, and that's why they're coming over to Western countries, because they want our democracy. My challenge back then, of course, was, well, if Muslims enjoy democracy in the West, why then do they want to also bring Sharia law with them? So I think that's part of the conflict, is the genuine. I think you're kind of being slightly unkind to your caller from yesterday, calling her extreme. I think what she's trying to articulate is a very common sense, I'm going to finish, is a very common sense viewpoint, which is, if you love Islam so much, why not stay in countries that practice Islam?
Just to be clear, Katie.
Yeah, of course.
How I responded, the reason I said it was an extreme view.
They're extreme.
Yes,
Stephen,
the reason I said that is she said that she would rather die than be treated by a Muslim doctor.
She went on.
You don't think that's extreme?
As you know, Stephen, you get to do this nearly every day, so you can remain calm. Some people get excited when they're talking. They say things that verge on this being a little bit surprising, but her point that she's making, as you will appreciate, is not extreme. It says, if you love Islam so much, why not stay in the Muslim world? It says...
I would argue...
No, her point is...
And also, Stephen, you spent a lot of time at the start of this conversation telling your listeners a bunch of stats. Now, if we look at the recent BBC survey on Muslims, 27% of Muslims living in the United Kingdom have sympathy with the Charlie Hebdo attacks.
where terrorists, Muslim terrorists, went in and shot dead most of the satirical magazine staff. 27% of Muslims living in our country today have sympathy with the attackers and they're shot down. I think that's quite alarming.
Mohammed, you can respond, of course.
Well, I think the first point is that there are 4 million Syrian refugees in Muslim countries, and the idea that everybody is wanting to come and live in the West, I think it's actually a vote.
Why is there such a fuss about that?
There's a very confident.
Let's let me finish.
Katie, just calm down. There is a vote of confidence in our democracy and our freedoms, and I think that's something to cherish. But you know, Katie Hopkins represents the same mold of people. You've got neo-Nazis, you've got the far right, and then you've got Katie Hopkins as their cheerleader in that.
No, she's not their cheerleader.
Well,
Kitty,
I'm sorry.
no, she is not. I'm kidding. You will want to respond to that.
She just said and defended somebody who said she'd rather die than be treated by a...
Kitty didn't say that. The caller said that.
No, I'm talking about the caller said that, and she defended that person. And in my books, that's part of the problem. And when you have inflammatory language by the likes of Katie, when you have inflammatory language by the likes of Katie Hopkins,
Kitty, can I just... Kitty, can I just understand? Hold on.
It creates an environment, Stephen, where it becomes normalized to demonize Muslims on your short stage.
One second. Kitty, can I just establish this for what you were saying earlier? Are you saying that Muslims should stay in Muslim countries?
I'm saying that a simple question that hasn't been asked, and I think it's what your caller referred to yesterday, is if Islam is so fantastic and people that want to come to our countries want to carry on practicing as Muslims, and I thoroughly respect that, but if Islam is so fantastic, why not stay in countries that are practicing Islam, that are Muslim countries? Secondly, if so many people do want to come to America, this is about Donald Trump's temporary travel ban on 7 countries, I think it's a great period, a 90-day period, to reflect on how fortunate so many people are to be given a home in the land of the free. It's very fortunate that Donald Trump has said, you know what, if you're going to love our people, if you will love our country, you are welcome here. Now, it's not really a Muslim ban, I don't think of it that way.
He described it as a Muslim ban when he was campaigning.
Yes, indeed, Stephen, but I don't see it as a Muslim ban. I see it as an invitation to be American, because Donald Trump, I stood there in front of him at his inauguration when he said, I will put American people first, and I think you will find, Stephen, a lot of support out there.
Some American citizens are Muslim.
And how do you define American?
Sorry, I didn't understand your English. Carry on again.
I mean, see, this is how do you define American?
To me, an American person is a patriot. It's somebody who's willing to stand up for the American people, and somebody who does not wish harm on the American people. And I think a lot of people are surprised. If I may, Mohammed, for one moment, a lot of people
you've been given a very
One second, Mohammed, then you can reply. One second. Right now, you two stop it. Kitty, you can finish your point, then Mohammed, you can reply.
It seems to me there's a lot more outrage about a few travellers and tourists stuck at airports like JFK than there ever was about a great number of men, women and children blown up at Brussels Airport by Muslim terrorists. I think we've got our perspectives a little bit.
But there were also Irish terrorists, and everybody from Ireland was not banned from the country. There are also English terrorists. Nobody from England is banned. England is not banned from the country.
I think what you've forgotten here is Israelis have been banned from 16 Muslim countries for decades now, and no one's complained about that. It seems to me it's just because this is to do with Muslims. No one has stood up and protested about Israelis being banned from 16 countries. No one seems to be aware of that.
Mohammed, let me come back. Mohammed, let me come back to one.
Are you aware of the Israeli ban, Stephen?
Yes, I am. Of course I am.
And why aren't you talking about that then, sir?
You're talking about it.
I'm asking why you aren't talking about the Israeli ban. Why is there no fuss about Israelis being banned from travelling to Muslim countries, sir?
Kitty, here's the score. You've got a weekend radio show. I present 9 radio shows a week. Don't tell me how to do my job. Mohammed should go ahead, Mohammed.
Well, if Katie is so eager to talk about these issues, actually, if you look at the issue of terrorism, Stephen, you know this, I project the death threats from Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab for the work that we do against terrorism. So we won't take any lectures from Katie Hopkins and her fellow far-right travellers about how to defeat the issue of terrorism. We recognize that we've got a problem around that. Actually, I'm a British citizen. I was born in this country, so I'm not worried about what goes on in Saudi Arabia or anywhere else. I'm worried about what goes on in this country. And when we have callers calling into a national radio station and saying they'd rather die than be treated by a Muslim, it just reminds you what happened in the run-up to Second World War to the Jewish community. And so I just think language is very important. In inflammatory comments by politicians and commentators divide communities, and we should be encouraging people to bring people together. And I think you just heard Katie Hopkins.
I like it. I like the way. I do like the way people talk about bringing people together. I'm not going to let you finish.
Katie Hopkins defending somebody, which is, well, Katie Hopkins defending somebody who makes inflammatory and racist comments towards Muslims, I think just sums up the debate.
Okay, Jimmy, can I just establish that the view that the caller expressed yesterday, that she would rather die than be treated by a Muslim doctor, is the statement that really, really shocked people yesterday.
Okay, I take that. Nobody is supporting that statement. But
you seem to be.
No, she's not Mohammed.
No, Mohammed.
She's defending
She's not Mohammed. Let's let Katie finish.
Katie,
hold on, Mohammed, stop. Go ahead, Katie.
Mohammed, nobody is defending that kind of outrageous remark by the lady. I think what I am defending is her right to question why Muslims don't remain in Muslim countries when they're fleeing a terror or war or whatever. If Islam is so fantastic, she made a valid point. The reason that comment is flown is because she's tapped into something. I asked the same question on my radio show on Sunday. It's the most watched clip for 2017. There's a reason people are interested. It's because that question hasn't been asked. No one's supporting the more outrageous things she went on to say, which we all know people get a little bit worked up, just like you did earlier, Mohammed, when you were calling me names. But I think what we do recognise it's a valid question to ask, and Stephen will carry on asking it. Why don't Muslims remain in Islamic countries? Why must they come to the West and to
I want to leave a lot of room for callers this morning. Go ahead, Mohammed.
I just think that the fact that Katie Hopkins doesn't condemn that type of inflammatory comment, and the idea that the vast majority of refugees from Syria and Yemen have remained in Muslim countries, and this is part of an attempt to demonize refugees, to belittle the fact. And Britain's got a proud history, Stephen, of providing shelter to refugees, and long may that continue.
What I'm interested in this morning, in particular, Mohammed, is that when some people call views extreme, if you look at this Northern Ireland social attitude survey, would you accept a Muslim as a close friend? 60% of those surveyed in Northern Ireland say no. This is a robust survey. Where are people getting this from? Do they form their view of Muslims from what they see on television?
I think they get it. I think they get it from the likes of Katie Hopkins' inflammatory Twitter feed and her Daily Mail columns.
Okay, Katie?
That's where I think they get it.
I think if we accept that your stat there, I would also say 27% of British Muslims support the terror attack on Charlie Hebdo magazine. And women were slaughtered.
Interesting deflection there.
Different stats.
Where's that stat
A
from?
BBC survey, April 2016. I can send you the link right now if you'd like.
We'll look it up right now.
Great.
Okay, Kevin in Ballyhens. Go ahead, Kevin. Morning.
Okay, Stephen. So first of all, where do you start? I'm one of the 40%, obviously, embrace Muslims. In actual fact, the best man at my wedding is a Muslim and a very, very close friend. I was on before to you in regards to that. In regards to where does Katie stop? Is it all non-Christians in regards to coming in these countries? And then she actually quotes in regards to America and the patriotism. We all know that the biggest genocide ever took place with the Red Indians, over 100 million was slaughtered. So don't talk to me about patriotism and everything else. It's a disgrace what she's coming off with.
Would you like me to respond?
Of course.
So I think if people actually listen to what Donald Trump said, and the reason he had 63 million people voting for him, the reason 57% of Americans support his ban on travel from 7 countries, is because someone has finally stood up and said, enough of us being victims of terror. We're going to take action first. We're not going to take the risk of another terror attack. We're going to support and defend and protect American people. And you know what I think? That's what's so reassuring, is finally we've got a leader who's going to stand up and protect us. And I see that as a great move. And I also know there's a great many people across the United Kingdom who would like the similar sort of thing imposed here.
Would you like it imposed here?
Would I like a temporary ban on countries where we've had terrorists from imposed across Western Europe? Yes, I would.
But surely we've had terrorists from many countries beyond that 7. In fact, what country have we not had a terrorist from?
Of course, and when you put that to your listeners and you say, well...
I'm putting it to you.
Yeah, 15 of the 9/11 bombers came from Saudi Arabia. They're not on the list. But then if you say to people, okay, should we add Saudi on the list? People say, no more countries on that list. Yes, I do think it would be good if we halted travel from any countries where we've had terrorists brought to us from. And I have no understanding why we allow jihadis, for example, back into Britain. It seems to me it causes nothing but trouble. I don't know why we put the human rights of those who want to cause terror ahead of the basic rights of individuals who work hard, try hard, pay their taxes, and are patriots for those countries.
I don't think there's anybody arguing that we would like to that they would object. I don't think there's anybody arguing that they would like to object to stopping terrorists coming into any country.
But how are they suggesting we stop terrorists coming into this country?
By profiling people more, Kitty, than just what religion they have.
Okay. And I will agree with you, but how could we show that that's been successful so far? Berlin, Brussels, Nice, Munich. Have we been successful, Stephen, at stopping terrorists getting into our country?
So your solution is ban all Muslims?
No, that's not my solution. You're putting words into my mouth, as you know you are. I'm suggesting until we have extreme vetting in place that we know is tough and resilient and stops our citizens being mowed down by trucks when they're at a Christmas market, then perhaps a temporary travel ban from some countries where we know there is terrorist activity and we have proven links to terror, perhaps a temporary travel ban is a good thing.
I repeat my question. Which country, then, is there not a potential terrorist threat from?
I wouldn't be able to answer your question.
So therefore, if you follow your logic, you would ban everybody from travelling to
I would not ban everybody, no. But I do think at the moment we can agree, you and I, Stephen, we can agree, can't we, that our vetting is not sufficient if we still have people being blown up, knifed, axed, shot.
Well, let me give you an example. Hold on.
Let me ask you a question.
Well, let me give you an example.
You're always asking questions. I'm going to ask you one. Have we got our vetting sorted yet, Stephen? Have we got it right?
It's just tiring that you're asking me questions, but you know it's not my role to answer on the BBC.
A simple question.
Tiring.
Well, let me answer the question.
Hold on one second. Kitty, let me ask you this.
Sure.
In Northern Ireland, the dissident threat
You're still not answering my question.
from dissident Republicans is substantial. They tried to kill a police officer last week. So there would be a dissident threat. The British state would be seen by the dissidents as their enemy. Would you ban people from Northern Ireland travelling to elsewhere in the UK?
You can cut me off.
No, they're not bad enough.
I'm not answering any more of the questions until you answer mine. Have we got vetting correct yet in Western Europe? Have we got it
I'll
right?
answer your question like this. You know rightly that on the BBC...
Now, here we go. You're not allowed an opinion. How
Correct.
convenient is that?
Correct.
So Gary Lineker can march with the protesters. He works for the BBC. He can stand with a placard, but you can't have an opinion, Stephen. You can just criticise the opinions of others.
What Mr. Lineker does is none of my business. He's also a sports presenter.
Employees of the BBC.
He's also a sports presenter. In the role I have, as you well know, it's not appropriate for me to
But you
express
can
an opinion.
criticise the opinions of others.
I'm not criticising, I'm questioning.
But it'd be interesting if you had to have an opinion, wouldn't it, Stephen? And I could challenge you, have we got vetting right? I think you and I both agree we have not. When I ask you what the solution to that is, it can't simply be leave our borders open, let more people come. It has to be something in the order of what Trump's done, which is remind reminding people America has strong borders. America will build a wall. America will not allow people to target innocent Americans, and I think that is a fantastic woman.
I mean the
just the anti Katie Hopkins, it makes no sense. Carry on.
Well, I would argue that if you look at the biggest issue facing to keep America safe is gun crime. No people are killed by guns, not by fellow Americans. But you wouldn't talk about that. President Trump doesn't introduce an executive order to ban guns from
part of his campaign platform.
Well, I'm sorry. If it's about keeping America safe, as you said...
No, it's about his campaign platform.
No, you said it's about keeping America safe. President Trump talks about America safe. How many children were killed at the Sandy Hook school? How will you stop that? How will you stop the shootings that happened? We saw a deranged far-right...
Change the subject massively, Mohammed.
It's not that. Well, I'm sorry, you changed the subject. You changed the subject onto refugees. Stephen, let me
let's address the issue rather than...
No, again, I'm saying to you that the biggest issue facing the United States is gun crime. Yeah, Katie Hopkins and Donald Trump are not prepared to talk about that. That proves to you that they've got an anti-Muslim agenda.
Listen, Katie, always nice to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed. Mohammed Shafiq, thank you. Morning to you. 03030 80 55 55. Just to give you the totality, by the way, of this BBC survey that Katie Hopkins mentioned. She didn't cite all of it, of course. The survey did say that 27% of the 1,000 Muslims polled by Comrade said that they had some sympathy for the motives behind the Paris attacks. Almost 80% said they had found it deeply offensive when images depicting the Prophet were published. 95% of those Muslims who were surveyed said they felt a loyalty to Britain. 93% of those Muslims who were surveyed said that they obey British laws. 11% felt sympathy for people who want to fight against Western interests. So that's just some more of the statistics. If we come back to the central point as to why we're doing this programme this morning, it's about Northern Ireland and the Social Attitudes Survey 2015. That's the most recent survey here in Northern Ireland. And my goodness, what a talking point that Janice, who came on the programme yesterday, has actually now stimulated. Because if that most recent survey is indicative of how people think and feel in Northern Ireland, why did the majority of the respondents, 60%, say they would not want a Muslim as a close friend? What is that about? And let's try to understand that from your calls this morning. 03030 80 55 55. Are you one of those people? Are you one of the 50% who would not want a Muslim as a work colleague? If so, why? What's going on in Northern Ireland? Every line in the BBC jammed in this. It's something you do want to talk about, and we'll do so after the news.
Now, at 9:30, the news from the BBC. Stephen Nolan Show.
One young person dies every month from an undiagnosed heart condition in Northern Ireland, according to figures from the British Heart Foundation. The charity estimates that 17,500 people are living with the faulty gene that puts them at high risk of a heart attack at a young age. Employees of a building services contractor in Lurgan are expected to hear today what will happen to the company, while Stevenson Limited went into administration yesterday after 95 years in business. The 33 jobs are at risk. The PSI says there's been a fall in the number of calls they received about domestic abuse over Christmas. Provisional figures show that police were contacted 2,656 times, 82 times fewer than the previous year. On New Year's Day, they had 139 calls. And a 20-year-old woman arrested in Newry by police investigating a gun attack on a police car in West Belfast in November 2015 has been released. A number of shots struck the side of the car, which was parked in Roscommon Avenue. No one was injured.
Right, Gary and Doug Patrick. Morning, Gary.
Yes, Stephen.
Go ahead, Gary. Thanks for calling us.
No problem, Stephen. Look, Stephen, I agree 100% with Katie Thompson there.
Katie Hopkins.
Katie Hopkins, sorry. Yeah, she is on the money what she was just after saying. I didn't know she was going on the video this morning, but listen to her. She couldn't have said it any better. And as for yourself, Steve, the way you spoke about that woman yesterday, you were nearly attacking her. She was just giving her issues across the radio, telling people what she thinks, and you attacked her.
I think Gary, when I referenced this yesterday, so just to clear this up, but I'm pretty confident day two of what I'm saying here. I think when any caller comes on to a show and says that they would rather die than be treated by another human being, doctor, simply because that doctor is of a particular religion, then I think that deserves a very strong challenge indeed. Well, let me ask you the same question. Would you rather die than be treated by a doctor because of their religion?
No.
Right.
Okay, no. But at the same time, I know where
That's why I challenge it. Well, what do you mean you know where she came from? How can it be a coherent statement to make at all?
Yeah. Well, it's not, the statement she made, I think Katie was right. It's just in the moment. She made me...
No, I asked her a number of times. I tell you what, I think we'd actually be more productive, Gary, if you don't mind. Let's have a look at this Northern Ireland Social Attitude Survey, and let's see if you... And by the way, I emphasise I'm not judging you. I'm trying, because if you look at this, 50% of those who responded to the Northern Ireland Social Attitude Survey 2015 did not want a Muslim as a colleague. Would you be one?
100%.
Why? Explain that to me.
Well, yeah, give me a chance. Donald Trump supported the president. Now, what he's done now, in 7, 8 years' time, it's put on a knock-on effect in Northern Ireland, and that can only be good.
But setting aside Donald Trump, because you're a Northern Ireland citizen, you're entitled to your view as much as anyone else, why would you not want to work with a Muslim?
Because I don't trust them. They're taking all our monies out of Ireland and taking it over to their own country.
Where's the evidence for that?
Well, the dogs in the street know that. Even Catholics and Protestants all unite together. And I can't speak for...
No, they don't. That's a factually incorrect statement. No, they don't.
Well, Stephen,
Catholics and Protestants do not unite together in that. Second incorrect, not factual statement. When you say most of them do, that's not correct either.
Well, Stephen, the dogs in the street would say different. If you know what I'm talking about.
Are you comfortable tying all Muslims with that statement? So before you start to get to know the personality of an individual, their background, their values, you judge them because of their religion and wouldn't want to work with them.
Stephen, they're modern people. They are...
No, Gary, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't be doing my job right. Same with Janice yesterday. If I did not say to you that it's an outrageous statement. They are no more murdering people than Christians are murdering people, than Hindus are murdering people, than any other human being. You cannot be serious when you say something like that.
Well, Stephen, look what happened in London when the buses were blew up. God forbid, you had a relation in that bus. God forbid. I would not want to say that happened to you. God forbid. What way would you think?
And do you understand that there are Christian people who murder people? Do you understand that?
You did not answer my question. If you had a relative on that bus blew up, what way would you be thinking?
Do you know what also strikes me? And I stand over doing this program today again. It also strikes me the ease with which someone like you're quite articulate actually, you can hold the conversation down. Do you work? Have you got a job?
I have a real good job.
Okay, have you got children?
No.
But you have a really good job?
I have.
And would you see yourself as a respectable citizen in our community?
100%, Stephen.
And yet with ease, it rolls off your tongue to describe a whole religion as in that way. Come on, Gary. Now let's not scream at each other. Just think about that. Think about that.
Stephen, listen, I can't get my words to what I want to say to you properly across the radio. I really can't. Because I've never phoned to show my life, but I am passionate about Ireland, Northern Ireland, and this country. The Muslims are coming over. They're taking our monies away. Stephen, this has gone on for the last 20 years. I used to get a taxi out to Belfast, and the taxi man would tell me, don't be giving me that money because they're taking it out of Northern Ireland. Stephen, this is what's happening. You don't see it, because you just don't see it. Other people see it. You're going by the things that's coming on the radio and you're reading them off, but you don't see what's happening. I'm not having a go at you, but...
Are you trying to tell me... Can you just even give me just a feel? Because I don't want you... just give me a feel for what type of job you do. Not your... I don't want to know the workplace address. What type of job do you do?
I'm a farmer.
Right. Are you honestly telling me that you think every Muslim is the same?
No, Stephen, now listen, don't attack me like that.
I'm not attacking you. I'm trying to understand how you're saying to me you wouldn't want to work alongside a Muslim. Let me ask you another question. 60% in the Northern Ireland Social Attitude Survey 2015 said that they would not want a Muslim as a close friend. Do you include yourself in that?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't, if you just wouldn't want one as a friend?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't trust them.
And again, you don't trust them, so you think everybody is the same. Do you really think that?
No, Stephen, not necessarily, but look, you're just taking us away from what I phoned up with today. Donald Trump was voted president.
Correct.
Right. Everybody needs to get off that man's back. Let him go and do his job. Now, yes, he's got history, but he's voted in. Katie hit it in the head, or whatever she said, she was on the money. Let the man do his job, and we'll have no trouble here in 7 or 8 years' time.
Do me a favour, stay there. Because Dr. Naheem wants to speak this morning. He's called us Gary. Naheem, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will.
Good morning. You'd like to speak to Gary this morning?
Please, thank you. Gary, I really appreciate, but the problem is that you have no experience of working with Muslims. You have a prejudice about Muslims. The media talking about Islam all the time, all the negative media coverage that keeps coming up all the time. And that's why you said that. You said they are murdering people. The reality is the refugee crisis, because the Western countries are bombing these Muslim countries. Day in and day out, the people are being pushed out of the country. All the countries around the Muslim countries are taking the brunt of the bombing. Who bombed Libya? Who is in Syria? There's a play going on. It's a war game going on between the West and Russia. And who's suffering these Muslim people? Who has it for? You absolve yourself suddenly? You absolve yourself from the bombing? You've been bombed?
What about this?
Well, let's finish, Gary.
Nobody wants to come here. It's because of safety. You are going out there and trusting your bombs on these people. This was happening. And you are ashamed, you should be ashamed of saying this and not even mentioning the fact that you are creating this crisis in the whole of Middle East for the last 20 years. What do you say about that?
Well, first of all, I disagree with everything you said. What about the innocent men? Hold on. There you go. Typical. Just keep talking and won't let people speak. What about...
Hold on, both of you. Hold on, because I think we can have a conversation this morning. This is all actually too important to be shouting over each other.
I agree, Steve.
I think it's too important. So Naheem, how would you reach out to Gary?
I don't understand. I work here. I serve the community.
What do you do for a living, Gary? You're a doctor.
I'm a consultant engineer, and I work also as a tutor, and every day I work with the community who are people from Northern Ireland, and I help them in everything, in some of the things that they could never understand. I'm trying to break that barrier and help them understand and educate themselves. And yes, when I listen to these people, they say they are bombing, they are killing, murdering people. You feel so bad about this,
Dr. Naheem, do you want to respond to that?
Yes. What's happening is, this negative media coverage around the world, there's enough statistics as to how this is being done around the world, has created this prejudice among people who do not know Muslims, but have made an opinion about Muslims without knowing them. Muslim is a religion which is basically saying there's one God and you worship one God and be peaceful to your neighbors. And Muslim is the only religion which welcomes Christians and Jews as people of the book and respects them and gives them the rights. And yet these people are saying that they're murderers. They don't know about Islam. They don't know about Muslims. It's just, if you don't know about them, please don't say anything unnecessarily just because the media says so. Try and find out. I understand majority of people cannot. I understand that I don't want to open a book and try and research about Muslims because I don't have time. I have my own life to deal with. But then these media spot on snippets create these images in people's minds, and therefore people are behaving like that. And Janice, I heard yesterday what she was speaking about, and I can see why she's saying that. She just thinks that Muslims are users, they're incapable of contributing, they're not intelligent people, they're stupid people, they murder people. This is not true. Muslims are the people who started the Renaissance in Spain and things like that. And the reason for Muslims and Islamic contribution has been great in mathematics and science. There was no medicine in birth when Muslims were actually treating people, and cesarean was started by Muslims. There was no cesarean. People used to say in the West that cesarean was like some devil coming out of the stomach, and they did not know about cesarean. Muslims contributed it. It didn't came from Muslims. So the great contribution of medicine. Ibn Sina's book was 300 years. The standard. It was a standard book.
Mahim, let me ask you this. Because I hadn't looked at this social attitude survey in depth until we did the show yesterday. The type of results that this survey is suggesting, in other words, 50% would not want a Muslim as a colleague of those surveyed in Northern Ireland. You'd feel that on the ground. 60% would not want a Muslim as a close friend. Do you feel that that anti-Muslim sentiment on the ground when you're living here?
To be honest, I was talking yesterday to one of my friends, Nolan, and I told him so many people day in day out, local people. I work very closely, and I've never felt anything like that. And to be fair, I think this 60% are the people who probably have never known any Muslim at all, and they're worried and scared because of the scaremongering that goes on about Muslims and people with bombs and guns. ISIS is a big subject for media. They are a minority. We know that from the emails that were leaked from Hillary Clinton that she was involved in the funding of ISIS along with the Saudi and other governments. So, this is the game that they're playing to bring about a bad name for Islam, whatever. And people are impressed by that.
Okay, well, let's see what some of our callers are saying this morning. Paul in Belfast. Morning, Paul.
Morning, Steve. Steve, I think part of the problem is perception. People perceive the Muslim religion as being an extreme religion simply because it can't be criticized in any way without running the risk of getting your head chopped off. A religion, for example, that puts a price on someone's head, perfect example being Salman Rushdie. A religion that does that, to me, is not a religion. Any religion that preaches violence, and that's what that's doing, if it puts a price on someone's head, it's preaching violence. And if that's the case, to me, that's not a religion, and that's dangerous. And, from that point of view, people aren't complaining about that. You don't hear the Muslim population up in arms because Salman Rushdie's life's in danger. They're quite prepared to accept the fact that
again, broad brushstrokes are dangerous. These sweeping statements are dangerous, are they not?
Is it a sweeping statement because you're not hearing criticism? That's exactly my point. You're not hearing the criticism. You can have their leaders coming out and making these statements and telling people to...
So again, let's come back to this poll. Let's come back to the Social Attitude Survey 2015. Would you object to having a Muslim as a colleague?
Not in the slightest, and if it's worth knowing, Stephen, my life, I am alive because of a Muslim doctor. My GP is a Muslim. I have no problems whatsoever in that respect.
Oh, thank you. Jill in Derry. Morning, Jill.
Stephen, my name's Jill. I'm just from home in Derry. I've lived and worked in London for the last 18 years among Muslim people. Some of whom are my best friends, and I have friends who actually physically wept in front of me when the Paris bombing happened. They were so distraught at what happened and the fact that they were being disabled and tarred with one brush. I think a lot of what has been said in the radio between yesterday and today, first of all, I'm completely saddened by what I've heard. But I think a lot of what has been said goes to the fundamentals of some of the issues that we have in Northern Ireland. It's about a lack of education. It's about people not looking outside of their doors. It's about people in Northern Ireland not integrating. You know, the lady on the phone yesterday said Muslims don't integrate. They're some of the most social, fun people I've ever met. And maybe the issue is that we in Northern Ireland are not prepared to integrate. We're not prepared to take the risk of finding out what's different. I think one of the gentlemen on the phone a minute ago, he just said it's a lot to do about fear. And I think where there's a lack of education, people become afraid. And where there is fear, people make these silly statements that, you know, going to the point about Trump, I completely understand that ISIS is probably one of the biggest threats that we have globally at the moment. But I think, as with anything, you have to take the proportionate stance to it. You know, you just can't kind of lash out. And I think the real concern for me with regards to Trump's policies is, where does Trump stop? You know, it's not just the Muslim countries that he has actually put an embargo on. He has taken measures to prevent Mexican people from coming across the border. You know, what is to prevent him from stopping anybody from coming into the country? And if his real main aim is to protect the borders of the USA and to protect the security and to protect the integrity of the citizens of that country, then, you know, one of the gentlemen on the phone, he said, what measures is he taking to protect them within?
I'm genuinely sitting here thinking to myself, what must it be like, and this is an open question, what must it be like for a Muslim family living in Northern Ireland? If this social attitude survey reflects accurately, and it's one survey, it's quite a well-respected survey. It was dated 2015, it's the most recent survey they've done. If this reflects that 50% wouldn't want to work with a Muslim, that 50% wouldn't want a Muslim as a close friend, that 68% would not accept a Muslim as a relative by marriage. I'm trying to think what it must be like in Northern Ireland growing up as a Muslim. What must it be like for a child going to school if the parents of their school kid friends think like that? Like, what must it be like? And it's my ignorance in Northern Ireland that I haven't looked at this more deeply. Jim and Ardoyne, Jill, thank you. Jim, morning to you.
We're working on the doors over 20 years. I've got to know a whole lot of Muslims, you know. And there was a couple of fellas working on the door with me, and I trusted them with my life. And when I was working up the Lone Road, they had a chippy shop and all that there, and they brought us over kebabs, you know, for years and years, and I'm still alive, and it was poison meat. And the loveliest fellas I ever met in my life.
Are you shocked by what you're hearing, Jim, or not?
I don't know, Stephen, in this country, and nothing shocks me. Nothing.
Jim, thank you. Here's one of the comments that prompted this much wider discussion that we're all having together now. Here's the comment that really brought it home yesterday from the caller called Janice. Tell me this, Janice. Would you, if you were in hospital, would you object to being treated by a Muslim doctor?
I wouldn't like to be treated by a Muslim. What would you do if there was nobody else there to do it for you? I would go home and die.
Lynn in Hillsborough. Morning, Lynn.
Hello. Hi. I'm horrified at that guy. He does not speak for me, and he does not speak for an awful lot of people in Northern Ireland. I'm horrified to actually think that a grown-up person can think like that. A grown-up, seemingly rational person can think like that, but he's not rational, actually. People don't seem to be mixing up the moving force with extremists, and we could say an awful lot about that in Northern Ireland.
Where's it coming from, then?
From a fear, probably. Fear and ignorance. That's what he can put it down to. To say that Muslims are dominant is ridiculous. Extremists are doing all the bombings and beheadings, not ordinary Muslim people. I mean, the people like you and I, would you follow a different faith. There's lots of different faiths, and we could say lots of different things, but, you know, each their own, and if they have a faith, that's great. But still, I'm sure God is a faith. Does that faith extend to hatred of someone just because they hold a different faith? That's crazy.
Well, look, if we talk about the elephant in the room, you know, over many years, we've had quite a few people in Northern Ireland hating their neighbours because of their religion.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah.
We've had generations growing up hating someone because they're a Catholic, hating someone because they're a Protestant.
Yeah.
So we're, Northern Ireland as well.
We're well entrenched, and we're not a country that is integrated well. It's getting better. It's getting so much better. And years ago, yes, it was horrendous, but let's not, move on. People move on. You know, we're never going to have a good road if people don't start loving each other and be defending each other just because we don't follow the same faith. It's ridiculous. I'm horrified that guy actually came out with what he said, and that the doctor or whatever it was on after him, he's every right to be horrendously offended. I would have offended for him.
It comes back to what's just in the underbelly of not just our society in Northern Ireland, but if you look at America, if you look at some of the things that Donald Trump was saying, and again, not for me to say that this is wrong, but Donald Trump during that election campaign said that he would ban all Muslims from travelling to the country for a defined period of time. And he got elected president.
Well, I couldn't believe Donald Trump has been elected president, but I really can't. And I think it says more about the politics of America that he got elected. It's terrifying, and I think people should be very serious in the future if he's vice president.
Afraid of what?
Afraid of the hatred that he's stirring up. You know, you can't put a Muslim ban out there and people aren't accepting that. They're marching out in the streets against it.
Well, actually, there was a survey done in America. I need the source what the survey is. I'm sure the team behind the scenes will do this for me. But because I saw this on the news last night, that the majority of people who were surveyed in America supported Trump's travel ban.
And you see these surveys, Stephen, but that survey you're talking about, that social survey, you know, we are under glass. I don't know. I don't know the final details of all these things, but all I know is that to hate somebody because they have a different faith to you is wrong. In every sense of being a good person and trying to lead a good life. To hate somebody because they look at a different Bible to you is wrong. And to fear someone because they read a different Bible and lead a different lifestyle to you is wrong. If they do something on you, fair enough. But you go to the entire Muslim faith and you're an extremist. That's wrong. That's like saying that even around Muslims that are on flight in an airport, we're a danger to us. That's a load of rubbish.
Thank you for your call. Enniskillen. Morning, Sean.
Morning, Steve. I think that all religion is suspect. If you look at Europe not so very long ago, 6 million people were killed in Germany. They were killed by German Christians, not by Muslims. If you look at South America, why do they speak Spanish and Portuguese? It's because they were put to the sword other converted beliefs. Right? Within Islam, they talk about Jesus, and they talk about him being the bringer of Scripture, born of a virgin, and he was raised into heaven. Wouldn't that sound right? That sounds a little bit Christian to me.
Sean, thank you, George the Shark. Good morning, George.
Thanks, Stephen. I rang in just a couple of things. You know, that survey, they found it surprised me, but I mean, Brexit surprised, is Trump surprised? Well, it didn't surprise me, Brexit or Trump. I mean, what that probably is, that's what, for want of a better word, curtain twitchers do, that will tell you someone in the street or view, you know, a stranger, publicly on a radio station like yours or you know, anywhere else from that give your views or be for fear of being branded or racist. It happened on 3 occasions that Katie Hopkins says Katie Hopkins are right-wing views, while she was articulating views that had a majority of people gave on a survey here. So we haven't saying that the 60% here is right-wing. I personally have 2 good Muslim friends, one of which was served in the army and has done 3 tours abroad and wears the medals in his chest proudly for them. So I have no problem whatsoever at all with Muslims. But I mean, again, I get back to the survey and why you're surprised. To me, it's curtain twitching. People who are afraid of being accused of being right-wing will not come on public and say what they think privately.
I think we've heard a couple of them on this radio show this
Yes, yeah, so I know, I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised because the Bonnie McCall took through people with a break before them to give you their views. You know, but it goes to show you maybe a survey, maybe something out there tends to push them forward. You know what Janice said yesterday was just so far off field, it was so far out of order. You know, I wonder if you got one of Janice's relatives and asked them and would the letter moves them treat her to keep her alive. You know, would you have probably got a different answer.
George, thank you. Dave in Craigavon. Morning, Dave.
Morning, Stephen. It's actually Warrington.
Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say about the travel ban that people are talking about that Donald Trump is supposed to impose. Actually, it was Obama who wrote this list of all these countries, but the point I want to make is people have been held up at an airport. It might be an inconvenience for them, but as one life is saved because of that, that is one human life that is not taken through terrorism. We've seen enough.
You could follow that logic and ban every country from visiting them, couldn't you?
Stephen, I'm not that upset with the
And by the way, there are people born and bred in America who undertake terrorist atrocities. Look at the Boston bombers, for goodness sake.
Stephen, I'm well aware of this. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect society, but what I'm saying is if steps can be taken to save a life, now, it only takes one person to go onto a plane with a bomb. You take a massive big jumbo plane that maybe takes 600 or 700 people. One bomb can bring that down. There's 700 lives, including the crew. They're gone. Now, if that's what it takes to calm the world down a wee bit, to save a few lives, if it's an inconvenience for people, so what of it? Every human life that can escape the state is precious. Nobody, no religion, no matter who they are, has the right to take a human life. And I think you'd even agree with me on that one.
So you support Trump?
I support Trump, yes.
Okay, Dave, thank you very much indeed. I don't know, it's just 2 days in a row now where I really genuinely think this is uncomfortable yet thought-provoking stuff.
Well, you heard that clip from the Nolan show, and again it adds further perspective and context on why I report on some of the more unsavory subjects that I do. And quite frankly, I myself wouldn't have a problem with people who are Sunnis who follow Omar and Aisha. I have no problem with Shia Muslims who follow Ali and Hussein. No problem with Sufi Muslims, Ibadi Muslims, Alawi Muslims, or Ahmadiyya Muslims. But I draw the line at the Wahhabis. Quite frankly, in my view, people who follow Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ibn Taymiyyah, and Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab are just irredeemable far-right terrorists. And quite frankly, I view Zionists in a similar fashion. No problem with Ashkenazim people or Jews, but Zionists who support Medinat Israel. That's where the line has to be drawn. When there are far-right ideologues who are willing to use terrorism for racist and sectarian genocides, it's just where the line has to be drawn. But as you heard also there were not people there just to defend Janice, but there were people there who phoned in to defend Muslims and point out that, like Christianity, it is an Abrahamic faith. And I would recommend the viewers check out the Alternative Political Analysis YouTube channel, Facebook page and blog for more interesting posts and videos, especially relating to this subject.